Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling one of life's greatest mysteries. What actually happens when we die? You might picture it as a simple shutdown, but science is uncovering something amazing. A final, brilliant flare of activity that could change everything we think we know. For centuries, this whole topic has been wrapped in mystery and, let's be honest, a lot of fear. But now, thanks to some incredible research, we're starting to get a real glimpse into what was once completely in the dark. So in this explainer, we're going to walk through the whole process, from the gentle way the body shuts down, all the way to a startling surge of activity that happens inside the brain. Okay, let's start with the physical side of things. We'll begin with the physical process. And it's not like a switch just flips off. The end of life is usually a pretty gradual transition, where the body's systems just naturally start to slow down. So as the big organ systems, like your digestive and respiratory systems, start to power down, you can see a few changes. A person might sleep a whole lot more. They might not be interested in food or drink. And their breathing can get a little irregular. Their skin might even feel cool to the touch as blood flow pulls inward to support the most essential organs. Now, one of the signs you might have heard of, and one that's really misunderstood, is a sound called the death rattle. It can be really upsetting for loved ones to hear, but it's so important to understand what's actually causing it. The reason for it is actually pretty simple. It's just the sound of air moving over secretions in the throat that the person can't clear anymore by coughing or swallowing. It happens in about 40% of people, and it can sound like anything from a soft moan to a louder gurgling noise. And this is the absolute crucial point. Medical sources are very clear. While that sound might be distressing for us to hear, there is no evidence that the person is in any pain or is even aware of it. It's just a natural part of the body's shutdown. But here's where things get really wild. Right as the body is winding down, something absolutely astonishing is happening inside the brain. The story is not over. In fact, you could say a whole new chapter is just beginning. Yeah, instead of just fading to black, research is showing that the brain can kick into a state of heightened, really organized activity right around the moment of death. This discovery is a total game changer. It's making experts like Dr. Samparnia step back and say, hey, maybe this black and white, on or off idea we have about life and death is just outdated. The line between them might be a lot blurrier than we ever thought. So how does this even happen? Well, as oxygen stops flowing to the brain, a process called disinhibition kicks in. Think of it like this. The brain has its own natural braking system that keeps everything in check. When the oxygen goes, those brakes come off, and that allows parts of the brain that are usually quiet to suddenly light up, creating this massive but brief spike of organized activity. But what's really mind-blowing is the type of activity we're seeing. If you look at this chart, studies have found a huge surge in something called gamma waves in the dying brain, way higher than when we're just resting. And get this, these are the exact same brain waves that are linked to really complex conscious stuff, like recalling memories, dreaming, and even deep meditation. So what could this mean? Well, this huge surge of brain activity might just be the biological explanation behind all those profound stories you hear from people who've had a near-death experience. It's the first question everyone asks, right? Is this life flashing before your eyes thing just a hallucination? The brain randomly firing off signals as it shuts down? Well, the evidence is pointing to something much, much more structured. See, unlike hallucinations, which are usually random and chaotic, people describe these recalled experiences as being incredibly lucid, even hyper-conscious. They don't just see random images. They report a purposeful, moral evaluation of their entire life, with access to every memory, thought, and feeling all at once. And there's another phenomenon that fits right into this puzzle, and it's just as fascinating. It's called terminal lucidity. This is when someone, maybe a person who hasn't been able to communicate for a long time because of something like dementia, suddenly has this burst of pure mental clarity right before they die. I mean, for a few minutes, maybe even a few hours, they suddenly become their old self again. They recognize loved ones they'd forgotten, they share memories, they might even ask for their favorite food. It can be an incredibly beautiful final gift for families, but it's also often a sign that the end is very, very close. Okay, so let's try to put this all together. What does this brilliant final flare of brain activity really mean? It's forcing us to completely rethink what the end of life actually is. So check out this diagram. It shows what happens next. After that initial surge of activity, a massive electrical silence spreads across the brain. Some scientists call it the wave of death, kind of like a citywide power outage for your neurons. But here's the kicker. We're now learning this might not be the final, irreversible moment. As you can see, if oxygen comes back in time, a wave of resuscitation might actually bring those brain cells back online. And get this. This is truly incredible. In one groundbreaking study, scientists were able to restore cellular function in a pig's brain a full 4 hours after all electrical activity had stopped. 4 hours. What all of this research seems to be screaming at us is that death isn't just an event. It's not a light switch being flicked off. It's a process. And it seems that our consciousness, our very sense of self, might be an active participant right up until the very end. And that leaves us with this final, profound thought. If our very last moments involve a highly organized conscious experience, well, that transforms dying from just a biological failure into a final, incredibly complex, and maybe even meaningful human experience. It's a mystery that science is just starting to unravel, suggesting the end of our story is far more intricate and amazing than we ever imagined.